Hey everyone, it's Megan. Welcome to my July, August, September, October book haul. It has been an insanely long time since I have done a book haul, and yeah, it's very overdue. I actually shot one about a month and a bit ago, and then it just got too late, and the books just kept piling up, so I was like, screw it, I'll just do one big, large book haul. And big it is. I have 22 books to show you, as well as 4 bookish objects. So the first thing I want to mention is I'm quite proud of myself. I managed to get all of these books for the course of the last 3-4 months, and I only paid full price for literally 2 of them. I got almost all of these used or at some type of discount. I won't be going into a lot of detail about these either because of the amount of them, but I suggest you grab a snack. The first book I'll mention here is Selfish, Shallow, and Self-Absorbed, 16 Writers on the Decision Not to Have Children by Megan Daum. I read this, I believe it was in around September, and as you can see, I really enjoyed it. It is just this, writer's right on not having kids, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The next book I have here is Starting Point by Hayao Miyazaki. This chronicles the years from 1979 to 1996 of his life and working as an animator. If you haven't seen any of Hayao Miyazaki's work, you should, because he is the creator of Studio Ghibli, which is probably the most infamous and most popular anime movie studios in Japan, and I'd say top 10 in the world, honestly. The next book I have here is Eleanor, Crown Jewel of Aquitaine. I'm not sure the author of this one, but it is a royal diary, and I love this series. I am just slowly over time collecting these books, but I got this Value Village and it looks great. Next I have Rodale's Basic Organic Gardening, A Beginner's Guide to Starting a Healthy Garden by Deborah L. Martin, and I got this primarily because it was $6.99 at Winners, and I love the illustrations. It looks really sweet, and I don't have a house or a garden at this point, but I plan to someday, and when I do, I intend for it to be organic, and so Basic Beginner's Guide, there you go. Next book I have here is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. This was only $2 at Value Village, and I got it because my hardcover copy at home is starting to fall apart, and so when I reread the series again, which I intend to do next year, but more on that later, yeah, I wanted to have my own copy, and this is in perfect condition, so it's great. Next up, I have The Bat Poet by Randall Jarrell with pictures by Maurice Sendak. I read a sort of biography of the compilation of work by Maurice Sendak a few months ago, and ever since then I've been really interested in his illustration, and you would know him as the illustrator and author of Where the Wild Things Are. He just has a very beautiful style, and so I wanted to collect more of his work. The next book I have here is The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie by Muriel Spark. This, I believe, is about a school teacher in the 60s that gets involved in salacious activities with one or more of her students. I can't wait to read this, and then I can't wait to watch the film, which came out in the 60s, starring a young Maggie Smith. The next book I have here is The Thornbirds by Colleen McCullough. This is somewhat of a classic, and it is very, very chunky, and that is because it covers the 3 generations of a family in the Australian outback. Yes, this is the official copy that is in chapters today, and I found it at a secondhand bookstore for only $7 instead of $20. There are a couple of women in my family who have read this book and really enjoyed it, and so I can't wait to read it too. The next book I have here is The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien with illustrations by Alan Lee. This is the first book from the trilogy of the set that I want to acquire of this infamous trilogy, and that is because of these glorious illustrations throughout the book. So books 2 and 3 are on Book Outlet, and I need to pick those up for myself so that I can finally read this series. I read The Hobbit last year and loved it. I have a feeling that I'm going to be a big Tolkien fan. My dad is. So, yeah. Next up we have Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. This is the sequel to To Kill a Mockingbird that's gotten some attention, but not a whole lot of people on BookTube have read it. So I don't have a whole lot of opinions to go on, although the reviews that I've heard about this are pretty split 50-50. There's been a lot of controversy over some of the stuff, the decisions that Harper Lee chose to make regarding some of the main characters, but I'm interested myself to see what happens. Next I have The Novel Cure, An A to Z of Literary Remedies by Ella Bertaud and Susan Elderkin. And this is a gorgeous book that I have wanted to pick up for years, and when I saw it for $4 at Value Village, I was like, yep, this is going to be mine. And it is wonderful. It's like a dictionary of ailments and recommendations for books that go with them to help cure you of that ailment. And it's genius. I'm going to be using it in the future. I know I will. And the next book I have here is The Last Safe House, a story of the Underground Railroad, written by Barbara Greenwood and illustrated by Heather Collins. This is a nonfiction middle grade book. Well, partially nonfiction because there's a fictitious story set in there, and the chapters alternate between each chapter there is some history about the Underground Railroad. I can't tell you how many times I checked this out as a kid. It was many, many. And so I got this used library copy off Amazon, and it arrived in pretty good condition, I think. Next up we have Chocolate Dreams by Arnold Adoff, and this is also a book that I can't tell you how many times I checked out of the library when I was a youngster. That is because of partially the illustrations, but also the poetry is fully and completely about chocolate. Next up, I have The Making of Beauty and the Beast by Bob Thomas. This I got, I think it was 99 cents at the children's section of Value Village because they didn't know what to do with it, and I'm just sitting there like, okay, I'll take $1. It is pretty self-explanatory. I already know a fair amount about The Making of Beauty and the Beast, but there's no harm in having a little extra reference book besides. This one's really pretty. Next up, I have Winter of Peril, The Newfoundland Diary of Sophie Loveridge, and this is by Jan Andrews. It is one of the few remaining books of the Dear Canada Diary series that I do not have. I think there's 4 left that I don't have, and I really, really want to get my hands on all of them. I don't care if they're used copies at this point. I just want to have them so that I can just line them up, figure out how they fit in chronologically. This one, for instance, takes place in 1721, and I just want to chronologize them all and then read them in order and just have a full back-to-back composition of Canadian history, and it will be glorious. Next up, I have Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. This was also 99 cents, and it's just in perfect condition, and it's so cute, and it is by Natalie Babbitt, who is one of my favorite storytellers. She wrote The Search for Delicious, and she has a really great sense of humor and mystical, magical realism aspect to her stories. A lot of them are like fairy tales, and this one I think is more not contemporary, but contemporary to when it was written. I'm really excited to read this. This is a required reading for a lot of middle grade children, so I may as well read it too. Next up, I have Mary Poppins by P.L. Travers. This is the first book in the Mary Poppins series, and I obviously, like everybody, I watched and loved the movie as a kid, and I have not read the book yet. And I found this in perfect condition for just $2 at a used bookstore, and so yeah, I thought why not? And the next book I have here is My Life in France by Julia Child. This book I read over 3 years ago, and I loved it, and I wanted to have a copy for myself so I could reread it, and I found it for, I think, $4 at Value Village, and it is just a nonfiction account of the years that Julia Child spent in Paris with her husband Paul. I also got Dumplin' by Julie Murphy. I read this book last month, and I talked about it in my September wrap-up, and I really, really loved it. This is about a girl named Willow Dean who enters a beauty pageant, and she's curvy and really confident within herself. Love this book so much. The third last book that I have here is Leading Men, the 50 Most Unforgettable Actors of the Studio Era. This is a TCM Books publication, and it's very self-explanatory. I talked about this in my September movie wrap-up as something I just acquired, but I'll just tell you guys too, it is 50 male stars during the Studio Era and just a dossier of them, just giving their profiles of some of their best performances and facts about their life. So we're down to the wire, and now we have just 2 books left, and these are the ones that I paid full price for. The first of which is A Time for Giving, 10 Tales of Christmas, and this is by various authors. This is the newest, technically, Dear Canada Diary that just came out a little while ago. Normally what they've been doing over the past several years is release a new one every September and every February, and I've just been buying them religiously as my first day of school present to myself. And Matt usually gets the new one in February for Valentine's for me. And this one breaks a precedent because normally they have all been these beautiful hardcovers with their own ribbons. This, on the other hand, is a paperback, and it's weird, and I don't quite like it. but it did make it slightly cheaper, and it is not the kind of paperback that I thought it was going to be. It's a little better than that, but anyway. I will still be reading this at around Christmas time, and I predict that I will still love it. And the last book I picked up was Eat Yourself Calm, Ingredients and Recipes to Reduce the Stress in Your Life by Gil Paul. So that also is pretty self-explanatory. It's got just a section in the beginning of different foods that will calm you down and make you feel better if you're living a stressful life, and then the last 2/3 of the book are recipes, just various snacks, dinners, desserts, to help calm you down. And I think this is a really good idea. I saw this and I thought, you know what, this is a purchase for my health. Probably a good idea. So we're finally down to the last little section of this book haul. I just wanted to show you guys some bookish things that I have picked up over the last little bit. And the first thing is these amazing Jane Austen temporary tattoos. There are 22 of them, and I'll just show you a little sampling here of what they look like. I got this for $12 at just a little specialty shop downtown. And if you know me, I'm a huge, huge Jane Austen lover. So yeah, I was really thrilled to pick these up. The next thing I'll show you is the backpack that I picked up for first day of school. And it is this classic Penguins tote bag. It's made out of canvas. It's really durable and I love it. I've gotten a lot of compliments on it, and that is because it is so cool. And the second last thing I have to show you is my agenda. It is this beauty. It is designed by Kate Spade, and I got it at Chapters. As soon as I saw it, I knew I had to have it. It is watercolor. It is book titles. There is an owl, and it just screams me. It's very pretty on the inside as well, but I just love the bookish theme to it. I wanted a bookish theme to everything I could possibly have related to school this year. And the last thing I have to show you guys, I just got about a week ago, but honestly, I love it so much. I have not taken it off. I think I've taken off maybe one day out of the last week, and it is this time turner that I got back at home in Moncton for only $10. I've seen the same thing up here in Halifax for $20. And it's not a legit time turner. I mean, there's random words written on the outside, and I don't think that's what it was intended for, but I will still wear it as a time turner, and I just love it so much. Alrighty guys, that is it for my rather massive book haul. Please comment down below and let me know if you have read any of the books that I have presented here today, and which ones you think that I should pick up first. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I shall see you soon with another video. Bye everyone!